I get done with one, then move right on to another bitch. Yeah. College educated, she graduated.
What's going on, guys? Pete Nova here with First Read Fantasy. We got a great show coming up here for you. We're going to go do a Superflex Tight End Premium mock draft. It's going to be a startup mock draft. We got a full house today. Excited to get the show rolling. I'm going to pull up the board and yeah, we'll get things going here. So let me just pull up the board, starting the draft. Make sure I take my always got to make sure we take that volume off so that way you guys are not getting blared in the ears. But yeah, I mean, a lot of things going on today. While this draft kicks off and starts here, do want to talk about the Jonnu Smith news. Jonnu Smith recently traded today in a package with Jalen Ramsey to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is an interesting move for both teams, really. Minka Fitzpatrick goes back to the Pittsburgh Steelers and a 5th round pick, I believe. And I think it was Jonnu, Jalen, and a 7th. Jonnu Smith, tight end 4 on the year last year. I can't tell you that I was drafting him at his price this year with the Dolphins. I really did not love his cost. There were times he was tight end 6 early on in best ball drafts this year. And then he was being drafted, I mean, somewhere in like the 60s and 70s. But tight end 5 on a points per game basis. He rejoins Arthur Smith, and he goes to the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers in a new look offense. That defense adds Jalen Ramsey. I don't really agree with moving Minka to add Jalen Ramsey, but it seemed like there was some issues over there. And so that's what happened. But when you look at the raw stats with Jonnu Smith and his time in Atlanta, with Arthur Smith, it wasn't really great, right? I mean, 7.3 points per game in 2023, 3.7 points per game in 2022. He obviously came over from Tennessee, but he's there with Arthur Smith, and that's pretty much it. There's not a ton to say here for me, guys. I think it's stock down for Pat Freiermuth. It's a pretty unfortunate trade all around. I'm going to start this off here, by the way, and I'm going to take Bowers here because it is a tight end premium. But I think it's stock down for Freiermuth. I think it's stock down for Jonnu. I think it's stock up for all the guys in Miami. I mean, Jonnu had over 100 targets last year. They didn't bring in a big time weapon on this offense who's going to take any of those vacated targets. So I mean, I think it's stock up for all of them. I put out a tweet the other day and said Tyreek Hill as one of those guys, and I listed a bunch of aging veterans as players that maybe could see their ADP rise. And I think Tyreek Hill certainly could see his ADP rise. Right now, if you take a look at Dynasty Data Dynasty Daddy, and you look at some recent trades, Jonnu Smith today was traded for David Njoku. I would take David Njoku in that deal. Jonnu Smith given up for a 2026 3rd-round pick and a 0.5 tight end premium. Another league traded for a 6th-round pick as well. See him here in a 0.75 tight end premium league, straight up for a 2nd in 2026 and a 2 quarterback. A 109 for Jonnu, a 201 and a 301. That's for these picks in the rookie draft this year. So people are looking to get off of their Jonnu Smith trades, that's for sure, or shares. But the crazy thing is, Jonnu's only been traded in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deals today on Sleeper. Dynasty Daddy takes all of the Sleeper trades. They're linked to that database, and he's only been traded 6 times. So clearly people are not buying, and I'm sure people are selling. So pretty interesting stuff there with Jonnu. So I just wanted to get that out of the way here as we kick off today's draft and get this mock rolling. A lot of quarterbacks in the first start of that round. There's still some good quarterbacks left on the board. A lot of good players here. You can go Ashton Genty. You can go Amon-Ra St. Brown. I do have, I will say I do have Bo Nix above these players here. I might take a chance and hope that I can get one of those guys on the way back. So I think I'm gonna take a swing here on Nico Collins and hope that I can manage to get decent quarterbacks on the way back. You know, I'm of the mindset with Superflex lately in Dynasty, if I'm not getting those elite tier guys in that top 5, a lot of these other guys I can make hay with, at the quarterback position. Let's just pull up the quarterbacks here really quick and just show who is left, right? You have Patrick Mahomes, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Justin Herbert, Drake May, CJ Stroud. You can make a case for all of these guys for finishing top 5 in their range of outcomes this year. All very talented players. Patrick Mahomes obviously is the most talented player, but that offense looks a little bit different. I do have Bo Nix ahead of Patrick Mahomes, and then I have Patrick, ahead of the rest of these guys here. But I'm okay. Look, if this board comes back to me and Brock Purdy and JJ McCarthy are here, and those are my 2 quarterbacks I end up getting on the turn, I'm okay with that, right? I get 2 elite players. You get Brock Bowers, you get Nico Collins. It is a tight end premium draft. And so that needs to be accounted for and made sure people are aware. Bowers holds a lot of value in a tight end premium league. So I just find myself not really, if I'm not getting those elite guys at quarterback, I'm not spending up at the quarterback position. I'm okay with even if I get a guy like JJ or Brock, or even I'm okay getting Dak. Right? I think good chance Dak falls back to me. So that's kind of my view on it. That's kind of what I've been doing with my super flex in any startups I've done this year. I think we're in a transition phase where a lot of people were pushing up quarterbacks the last few years, a lot of new players into the dynasty realm. It's become so popular over the last few years that I think we've seen a lot of people just double tap the quarterback position because we're learning. It's a newer game for some people, and then I think we're seeing a little bit of a correction, not overcorrection, but a correction where people are open to passing on that position, at least only taking one in the first 3. We do see here at the 105, you get Burrow, you get Caleb Williams. I'm okay with that. Now, we do have a 3rd round reversal here as well. So that's also a big benefit when, doing the passing of the quarterback here. I have the reversal come back to me, and there's still a lot of good quarterbacks here on the board. So I think that's a big time benefit as well. I call me crazy, man. I mean, there's some good players on the board here that I really wouldn't mind still taking a chance and punting quarterback just to push that envelope just a little bit. I love the running backs here. I have Hampton, Bucky, Brees pretty high in my rankings for Dynasty. Some of these wide receivers you start hitting. This is really more. All these guys are kind of 12 and back for me. JSN's the highest guy I have ranked here. Running back wise, though, it's hard to pass up on guys in these tiers for me. I love Hampton. I love Bucky. I have Hampton ahead of Bucky right now. But the quarterback position is tempting. I don't. I would be lying if I told you I wasn't interested in taking a chance on Drake May. There's a big chance that I don't get a good quarterback on the way back here. So I'm going to not get greedy. I'm going to go with Drake May. I think Justin Herbert, while he's in a really good situation, that offense, if you take a look at Justin Herbert's numbers, guys, and you look at how much he threw the football last year as opposed to years prior, me 504 times. 504 times. So I think that's pretty eye-opening because in 2023, he missed 4 games and he threw the ball 456 times. Now, even still, that even if he paced at 17 games, it wouldn't be an astronomical number ahead of what he did last year. But in 2022, he threw 699 times. We're talking about 200 more attempts than 2024. In 2021, 672 attempts. His rookie year, 590. So these are pretty interesting. These are pretty interesting numbers when you really take a look at Herbert, what this offense likes to do. They draft Omarion Hampton. They bring in Najee Harris. They bring in Trey Harris, right, who's a good guy off play action coming from Ole Miss in that system. So I that's why I take Drake Maye here. I'm shooting for a little bit of higher upside, and I'm willing to take a risk because I'm hopeful that a veteran falls back to me, on that way back. Let me see if I can. Let me check the chat here since I've been kind of going on here, and then I'm going to take a look at some of these picks recently. I would say the 111 spot having a pretty interesting draft here. Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Lad McConkey. That is a very safe way to build a team. I know it seems like Superflex to take the quarterback, that's safe, but building around 3 stud wide receivers, all 3 of those wide receivers are inside my top 12 for my dynasty rankings. So that's a pretty interesting strat. I think that's from Roman. And I can't tell you that, if he comes back and the quarterback's on the board, he ends up kind of getting like a JJ McCarthy, a Brock Purdy, or even a Dak. Like, that's a team that can win now, and be really, really set up for the future because he still has good core people at the wide receiver position. And if you're drafting in Dynasty, I typically like to build around young wide receivers. I don't mind taking chances on older veteran running backs just because they're so easy to acquire. People are so down on veteran running backs, and so they tend to be the easier position to acquire. Let me take a look at the chat here really quick. I know we kind of rolled, and then I didn't really, I kind of just got right into it here. I know Jacob's in the house. Bindles, what's up, man? How you doing? Hoff is here. Albert said, "What's up, Pete? What's going on?" Greg McCown, what's going on, Greg? Nice to see you, man. Jacob said, couldn't get Bowers. Nakua is fine. Yeah, I mean, Nakua is a good consolation. So you're in the one, two, yeah, you're in the last hole there, and that's a good spot too. I would have taken Gibbs over Nakua. If it gun to my head there, and then to wind up with Knicks because of the 3rd round reversal is good value. So I like that start. And then let me see what else we have in here. Cronster said snap reaction to Jonnu for me, but for stock down on Jonnu for me, 2025 redraft. I think he's actually the same. He's probably the 2nd target on the team. Rogers is serviceable, we think. Arthur loves him. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to know. I mean, we think Arthur loves him, but that was only because he ended up like aggravating us with the Kyle Pitts stuff, right? And so when you look at his years with Arthur Smith, it really wasn't anything crazy, right? I mean, 2022, 3.7 points per game. 2023, I believe he was with the Falcons in 2023 as well, 7.3 points per game. He had a total of 3 touchdowns in his time at Atlanta before coming over from the Tennessee. And 2021, he might have been there too. I don't have that in front of me. But neither here nor there. I don't necessarily think it's terrible. I just don't. I think it really just helps the Dolphins. I think Dolphins pass catchers stock up. Like I said, over 100 vacated targets in that offense. That's pretty important for those pass catchers. Even Devon Achane, who we think Devon Achane is going to catch even more passes, right? There's reports coming out of camp that Devon Achane is catching passes out wide, playing in the slot. They're using him and moving him around a ton. Going to be interesting to see how that percolates in training camp. But I mean, they don't really have an established player on the offense outside of those 3 guys. They don't really have much depth. I mean, yes, there are running backs like Jalen Wright. There's a bunch of other players that we think could be successful. But still a need to be seen basis. Looking at their tight end room, you have Tanner Connor. Don't know who that is. Hayden Rucci, Julian Hill, Jalen Conyers, and Pharaoh Brown. So it's obvious to me that this team in the Dolphins are going to bring in somebody. Could be Dallas Goedert. Could be Kyle Pitts. Though I don't think Kyle Pitts fits that system. You know, they require guys to block. I mean, you remember Mike Gesicki? Mike Gesicki could not get on the field in that offense because he doesn't block. So I don't think Kyle Pitts is realistic, guys. But Michael Mayer, that'd be really fun. I'd be really, really interested to see Michael Mayer. I know Greg just said Musgrave or Mayer. I think Mayer and Musgrave are interesting. I don't know if one's more likely than the other. I think Musgrave's probably more likely to be moved because when you think about Mayer, it seems like reports out of camp, they really, really like Mayer. So JJ McCarthy goes here. Not a huge run on the quarterback position. It looks like Roman is going to actually luck out pretty well. You know, he drafts that 3 wide receiver start. Now, this is tough for me, man, because I really like Christian McCaffrey this year. My team is still pretty young. I could take a chance there. See what the wide receivers look like. Rome, I also like Rome a lot too. And I do like Higgins, so I do have T. Higgins ahead of Rome in my rankings. Yeah, I'm gonna go with T. Higgins. If McCaffrey comes back to me, cool. I'm not gonna be too upset if he doesn't, because I still do like Jacobs a lot. I like Judkins. You know, Chase Brown's still available, so I'm okay there. But yeah, I mean, Hoff said it right. I mean, Roman's. I mean, he could run the table here and grab a quarterback. He could double up on quarterbacks. He gets Purdy. That's a great start. I mean, that's like that is if you're in a real draft and you're Roman, I mean, you are on the edge of your seat because you just don't know how it's going to go. You're really playing with fire. It pans out for him though. Love the start. I do want to take a look. Let me pull up my rankings here really quick. There we are. Okay. All right. So I'm going to break some slight news here. For those that maybe are not aware, we are dropping a Discord. It is not dropping yet. We'll have more information on it. But we here at First Read Fantasy will be dropping a Discord August 1st. It appears is going to be the launch date. Not totally firm on that, but somewhere around early August is what we are eyeing. We're going to have dynasty rankings for you. We're going to have a trade hotline. We're going to have team evaluations. We're going to have a lot of stuff. We're going to have a lot of stuff for redraft as well. Me and Hoff will be doing our kickers, our DST stuff. We'll be able to give out some early rankings there, some more access to us. So more to come on that. But just to let you guys know that that's something to keep in mind, you know, that we're going to eventually have available. It is in the works right now. We're super excited to launch that, but we are working on our rankings in part because we're trying to firm up those rankings as soon as we open the Discord. So we're working on getting those firmed up. Now, I will say I have a pretty young team here. Bowers, Nico, Drake May, T. Higgins is a good start. At the running back position, there's a lot of veterans here. I love Christian McCaffrey. I really do, but I'm going to go with Jacobs. There's the running back from a youth standpoint. I don't think Harvey comes back to me. I don't think Caleb Johnson comes back to me. Kenneth Walker's probably off the board. I'm okay if I'm hoping Kamara slides back to me on the turn on the way back. But the running backs start to dry up really, really quick, guys. Judkins, Chase Brown went before me. I know Jacob took Adunze and Chase Brown. I like those picks there. I do have Josh Jacobs above Chase Brown in my rankings. So just to give you a little bit of a tease here, my rankings, I have Omarion Hampton at 6. I have Bucky Irving at 8. I have Josh Jacobs at 11. I have Chase Brown at 14. So just to give you some idea, I have Christian McCaffrey at 19. It's hard to you're trying to keep value for the future as well as impact now when doing these rankings. Hard to put Christian McCaffrey at 19, but I have him and Henry at 19, 20, Kamara at 22. But it's good. I think having rankings, having tiers is a good way to keep yourself honest and and it's important. I think tiers are more important than rankings overall, just because when you look at let's take a look at the wide receiver position and look at JSN, right? Omarion Hampton. If I didn't take Drake Maye, I would have went Omarion Hampton, right? Omarion Hampton is for me, he's a 6th ranked running back in my rankings. JSN was the highest ranked receiver I had left on the board, and he was my 12th receiver. Not a knock. I think Scott did a good job, right? He had Bijan, he gets JSN, and I think JSN can be a top 5 receiver. I think that's in his range of outcomes on a year basis, seeing how that goes with Darnold. But just to give you an idea of why tiers are important, when I look at Omar and Hampton, he's in my tier 2. JSN's in like my tier 3, and everybody behind him, there was a lot of guys left in that tier. So that's why I go, Omar and Hampton if I wasn't going to go the quarterback route. Just to give you some insight, I do think Scott's having a good draft. I know Scott had messaged me on the side. He's a little bit newer to doing Dynasty and Superflex, but I think he's doing a good job so far. It's tight end premium. He gets McBride. He takes Bijan with his first pick. Quarterbacks are not bad for a team that started with the first 3 picks at the skill position. You lock up a core player at every single position, and guys that we've seen done it. We've seen Bijan do it. He's young. He's my RB1 this year. Seen Trey McBride do it. Big future for him. Everybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Trey McBride fan. Then you have JSN, who we saw break out last year. No DK Metcalf. He is the number 1 in that offense. So I think it's a really good start for Scott. Scott, if you are listening, there you go. I gave you your shout, my man. Roman said, I've had almost the same team in a startup I had earlier this offseason. Interesting. Yeah, I think you have a really good start here. I mean, you end up managing to get Quinshon Judkins too as your RB, your first RB, and it's a good team. It's a really, really good team. Let me see. Jacob said, Packers will throw a little bit more this year. Love was hurt too much last year, and Lloyd is healthy. That's why Chase above Jacobs for me. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I look at Jacobs, and I think Jacobs, there's a realm where Jacobs could be top 5 for me. I know Jordan Love was hurt last year, and I totally understand the rationale of they're not gonna run it as much as they did. What I would say is the team seems to, they play in cold weather. They have a good offensive line. They like to run the football. Now, Lloyd coming back is interesting. I do have Lloyd in a lot of spots stashed. I have been picking him up. If you aren't on Fast Draft, I would go ahead and do it. It's a really fun best ball app. They just launched it. You use my promo code NOVA, NOVA, for $50 deposit match. Really, really fun best ball app. But there, they have some different types of best ball drafts as opposed to other sites. And there, I like to get like Marshawn Lloyd in the Origin. I'm not the Origins, in the Rabbit that they just dropped, which is like a 15-round best ball. So it's not the normal size best ball drafts. Marshawn Lloyd, though, I think is a very interesting player. And somebody that I'm stashing. So I think that's a good call out, Jacob. Scott said, thanks, kind of focused over here. Yeah, no worries. Cool. And no auto picks so far. So this is a good house we have so far. I mean, normally you get at least 1 or 2. I think the last time we did this, Hoff got auto picked like his second pick, second or third pick or something like that. I think he was out at the bar at an event or something while we were doing it, but he was helping us out. So let's take a look here. Penix goes off the board. Interesting. Igbuka goes here, and I have Igbuka ahead of Terry McLaurin. I think it's really, really good value on Igbuka there. I have Igbuka as my ranked 21st receiver. I have him ahead I have him behind Rice and Hunter. I have him behind Tet. I have him behind Higgins. I have a Dunze? Yeah, I have a Dunze like 2 spots ahead of him. And then I have Terry behind him. I have Devonta Smith slightly behind him. So I think Ibuka really good value there, especially, you have Garrett Wilson who's going to give you an impact day one. So, that's good value there. I think Dak Prescott here, getting Dak Prescott at the 6'7" is kind of nuts. He's an interesting guy too. I mean, I know Trevor Lawrence and people are hopeful that he'll bounce back this year, but when we look at Dak, I mean, he's always had these QB3, QB18, QB8, QB32, QB2. Right, he's kind of ready to kind of give us a pop. He was injured last year. They're bringing George Pickens. That run game is really bad. I don't think the defense is going to be amazing. So I think Dak's really good value. He's 31 years old. The kind of style that he plays, he's going to play till he's 35, 36 at least. I'm not worried about the age there. And you pair him with Patrick Mahomes, it's good value. I am on the board here. I have Jordan Addison and Olave. I'm hopeful that one of them come back to me. So I am going to go ahead and take Alvin Kamara here. Just because I think Jacobs can help me. He's not too old. Kamara is a win now move for me. Jacobs is 27. I mean, it's going to give me at least 2-3 more years. Kamara is super risky. Maybe Chuba Hubbard's a better guy to go after there. But at the wide receiver position, I still have Olave and Addison on the board, who I have Olave and Addison. Olave is my wide receiver 21. Addison's my wide receiver 20. Again, when you're doing these drafts, guys, it's important to have tiers set up. It helps you helps you compartmentalize things a little bit easier when making some of these decisions. And it doesn't always work out, and rankings and tiers are not perfect, so to speak. But that's just kind of how I like to do it. Now, I'm in a weird spot here. Olave goes off the board. Warren goes off the board. I think Warren and Loveland in a tight end premium, I've seen these guys go in round 4. So to get Warren at the 7-1 and Loveland at the 6-9 is very, very good value. Roman gets Bryce Young and Purdy. So we'll see what he does here. But I mean, his wide receivers are great. Chuba Hubbard's available depending on how you like him. This running back start to kind of get shallow here. It's a lot of veterans. You're pretty much picking between the runts that you like in the litter, but a ton of veterans. So let's see what he does here. And then for me, I could go Jordan Addison. I could double tap at running back, take Chuba Hubbard, or I could go ahead and get my quarterback, another quarterback. It is starting to dry up here. I am not the biggest Cam Ward fan. I worry about pairing him up with Drake Maye. That's some decent risk. I think I'm going to pass here on quarterback again, and try to maybe get one of those veterans later. Now, again, looking at the process that I have Jordan Addison as my wide receiver 20. Chuba Hubbard I have as my wide receiver 21. I am thinner at the running back position. Chuba is young. Addison's young. I'm going to just take the Chuba Hubbard there, get a share of him. He's in a good offense that's going to be playing from behind. I believe Chuba Hubbard. And okay, so let me backtrack here. When you look at Hubbard and you look at this Carolina offense, the reason I love Tet McMillan, right? Outside the vacated targets, they play on a team with a really bad defense, right? And so I think their game script is going to help them out a ton. Chuba Hubbard is a guy that catches a lot of footballs. He had 43 last year. In 2023, he had 39. That's a pretty solid number. He had 11 touchdowns. We're probably going to see some regression there. This is a guy that had 43 catches and only had 171 receiving yards. I think those numbers go up. Now Rico Dowdle should eat into that, right? He had a 3% snap share, Chuba Hubbard, last year. I don't expect that to stay the same. 77%. Opportunity share number 4 in the NFL with 77.9%. But overall, Chuba Hubbard, not a bad value. He plays on a team with a defense that's going to be bottom 5 in the NFL to me, in my opinion. So positive game script to throw the football will be there. I also think Bryce Young takes a step forward. This is a damn good offensive line in Carolina. dare I say, at least top 15. It's a pretty good run blocking offensive line. Oh, actually, better pass blocking. But overall, a good, solid offensive line. They really addressed it, not this offseason, the year before that. And they was pretty solid last year. Now, when we look at the defense, though, defense is bad. The division defenses are bad. You have the Bucks defense. They play in good weather with the Bucks in Tampa. Defense really bad there. Did not really do much to improve that. Then you have the Saints, whose defense is not very good either. And then they play in a dome. And then you also get the Falcons, who had one of the worst defenses last year. Now, the Falcons, I think, will be improved. Raheem Morris is a good defensive coach. That defense stunk last year. They put a ton of investment into that. Everybody remembers them trading up towards the back end of this draft this year to go get an edge rusher. They also drafted Walker. I think that was the kid out of Tennessee, was the kid that they drafted. So I think they should be better. But again, unproven. Dome, good weather, bad defenses, high scoring games. I think Chuba Hubbard should have a good game script. And he was 13th in evaded tackles last year, number 6th in breakaway runs last year, Chuba Hubbard with 15. If you're not familiar with breakaway runs, just runs of 15 or more yards. So pretty interesting. So I guess I'm kind of just trying to convince myself that it's a good pick. I really like Jordan Addison. My receivers are really, really good. They're in a good place. I have Collins. I have Higgins. I'm okay with it. I'm looking to win now and build for the future. My top 4 picks are guys that can help me win now and in the future. I took some aging veteran running backs, but you got to take some chances there. So that's what I did. Now, through all that jargon, we didn't get through too many picks. Addison did go right behind me. Jamison Williams, then DK Metcalf, Zay Flowers, George Pickens. So I do want to say George Pickens, interesting. Let me pull him up here really quick. So George Pickens, and I had put out a tweet a while back, but George Pickens was one of the highest traded players in fantasy football. He's still up there, with Josh Downs currently. Pickens traded 349 times. George Pickens has been traded, and that is from the beginning of the end of last month to right now. So in a total of 1 month, George Pickens has been traded 349 times. Then you have Josh Downs is traded 358, Chris Olave 346. Actually, George Pickens still the most traded player in fantasy. Some of that's probably some cool down off of the trade, but he was also being traded a ton even before he got traded to Dallas. George Pickens in some recent trades that have happened just today, George Pickens and Breece Hall for Chuba Hubbard and Jamison Williams. I would take the Pickens and Breece Hall side there pretty comfortably. I have Breece Hall ranked much higher than Chuba. He's my number 9 ranked running back. I like Jamison Williams, Chuba Hubbard, but those guys aren't even in my top 20 at their positions in my dynasty rankings. And then some other deals that Pickens has gone in. AJ Brown for Najee and Pickens. That's a terrible trade. That's in a 1 quarterback 10 team PPR. It's easy. It's easy. AJ Brown there. George Pickens for Christian Watson, Jacoby Myers. I think I'm pretty comfortable taking the Pickens side there. I'm starting to buy into George Pickens more, guys. I really am. I didn't love it when the landing spot happened initially. But the more and more I pull back the curtain on George Pickens and what he can do with this offense, I'm starting to buy in, right? I mean, he's going to be paired up with Dak Prescott. If I'm in on Dak Prescott, right, as possibly a top 12 quarterback this year, how does that happen? How does he get there, right? Well, CeeDee Lamb is going to do what CeeDee Lamb does. I'm not worried about what Pickens is going to do for Lamb. But you're also – this defense – I'm just not they have Eberflus coming over from Chicago, from the Bears. God rest Anthony's soul. Anthony thought it was a good move. He's a Cowboys fan. I wasn't in love with it when it happened. I don't think that defense is going to be great, so to speak. And Dak Prescott is going to have to throw the football. That run game, again, not very good, and that should lead to Pickens being good. And this is coming from a guy who's not really a big George Pickens fan. I got to be completely honest with you. I am not a big Pickens fan. He's a really good deep threat, though, right? It's going to allow CeeDee Lamb to work in the middle of the field, and he's going to be able to stretch the field and help them out. Dak has no issue throwing the ball down the field. He's a three-level thrower, meaning he can pretty much operate all levels of the field very efficiently. And I think George Pickens could be of really nice value this year. Again, this is coming from a guy who wasn't drafting him very much, but I'm starting to kind of buy in just a little bit at his cost. And again, we went over some of these dynasty values right now, but I mean, and I saw DGen said Jacoby Myers is undervalued. I'm kind of with you. I definitely think Jacoby Myers is better than people give him credit for. Jacoby Myers maybe has like a strange, not breakout, but has like a nice resurgence, at the back half of his career here. He's a good player, and he's going to be in a much better offense. He's been in pretty bad offenses his entire career. The Patriots were not very good. He was with the Raiders for the last few years. I mean, so yeah, I mean, Myers, I think he's definitely somebody being slept on, but I think I'll still take a chance on my guy Pickens in that scenario. Now I'm back here on the clock. Running backs, still kind of iffy. I did pass on quarterbacks. Nobody's really taken much of a swing there. So it's still kind of giving me the chance to take a chance on somebody. I don't love Jared Goff. Got to be honest with you, but these are slim pickings here. If I'm a fan of Jackson Dart, maybe I double up here. Man, this is tough. I'm gonna take a chance on Dart. I'll take a chance on Dart. I'll get the youth. I'll try to see if maybe Stafford and Geno are available on the way back, and then just say fuck it and draft Joe Flacco. Worst comes to worst, he'll hope that he starts the first half of the year and Jackson Dart starts the second half of the year. But let me take a look and show you guys my roster so far, and then we'll talk about the board and how things are kind of falling. So I had Drake Maye, Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Nico Collins, T. Higgins, Brock Bowers, Chuba Hubbard, Jackson Dart. So again, when building a dynasty team, I don't think there's a clear cut. This is what you should do, shouldn't do. I think it's fluid. Everybody can have suggestions on what you should do, but when the bullets are flying and you're on the actual board live, it's easy to give advice from my position or guys on Twitter or guys you watch on YouTube like you are right now. But guys say a lot of things and do other things, right? And so I think you got to be fluid with the board. You don't let the board dictate your every move, but you have to be fluid and flexible, or else you're just gonna end up burning yourself. So that's my team so far. Let's take a look over here at Jacob. Jacob does take Jared Goff. I was hoping Goff would come back to me. We were both playing a little bit of a game of chicken here because both of us, pretty much took quarterback same time and then took our second quarterback same time. I worry about a little bit of regression for Goff. A lot of turnover over there, with the Lions, with the coaching staff. I wouldn't have minded taking Goff on the way back, but I hesitated, and that's why I just went with Dart. Just take a chance on the young upside, and then hope that maybe I get like a Stafford or a Geno in a round or two, and plug one of those guys in there. I love Josh Downs. Josh Downs, a great pick. Let me see where I have Josh Downs ranked on my rankings here. So nice to have my rankings in one spot. Let me take a look. Let's see. Yeah, I have Josh Downs as my wide receiver 32, which is pretty in line with who's gone off the board. I have Downs over Evans. I have Downs over Hill. Now, again, these are fluid situations. If you're in a win now, you might say, I'm willing to take Evans or Hill. Same reason you might take McCaffrey over guys that I have ranked ahead of him, because McCaffrey might be able to give me elite production the first 2 years. So it's all fluid and rankings. And when you're just taking a look at all those things, you got to keep that in mind. But I'm back here on the board. Tua Tagovailoa, do not want any part of wide receiver position. I have Brandon Aiyuk's probably my highest ranked player I have left here. I also have Jayden Higgins not too far behind him. I'm okay with, I have guys that are going to contribute for me now. So think I'm going to take a chance. Shoot. Yeah, I'll take a chance on Jayden Higgins. I love Jayden Higgins. Big fan of Jayden Higgins. I like the landing spot for him. I'm on auto pick somehow, but I took Higgins. How does that make any sense? Okay, well, turn it off. I love Jayden Higgins. I know it might feel like a reach, but there are some other players that I could still help me quote unquote win now. Higgins and Nico Collins are going to, if both guys are healthy, are giving me top 15 production. It's just what it is. Guys like Devontae Adams, who I think is still on the board, but he might not be on the board still. Is he available? Oh no, Adams is gone. I spoke too soon. But some veterans that I like if you're trying to get some production win now. Calvin Ridley. If Calvin Ridley had to start as my wide receiver 3 because Higgins, as a rookie didn't start off strong or hot, I'm okay with that. If you told me Darnell Mooney had to start in my flex, I'm okay with that. And this is also a start 2 wide receivers, guys. So keep that in mind. I don't have to start a third receiver. There's ways to work around that. So interesting. I was tempted with Aiyuk. That's one of those things. Aiyuk is actually ranked higher in my rankings, but I went with Jayden Higgins just because of my team build. I'm going to get enough from Nico and Higgins. I'd rather re-roll the dice on a young receiver like Higgins based on I have Higgins and Higgins. Based on my room, I'd rather just re-roll at the position and get young. So that's why I take Jayden Higgins there. Let me take a look at some of these chats that we have here. Let me see. By the way, guys, if you guys are here and you are not subscribed, please do so. Make sure you give us a like on the show. Very much appreciated. Let's see. All right. So let's see what the chat has to say. Let's scroll back up here really quick. So Jacob said, agree with Greg on Jameson. He's only 24, going to want to get paid too. Yeah. I don't know if he closes the gap, Greg. I'm not that bullish on him. I do like JMO. I'm not bullish enough on him to have him close the gap necessarily, but I think he can get better. And yeah, let's take a look at the rest of these here. Just seems like chitter chatter just going on here. Cody, what's up, man? Said liking this team so far. Bowers in the first. Yeah, it's tight end premium, so I don't mind taking a chance there. Said I'm betting Pete goes Geno. I thought about it. I did think about Geno. I think there's a real possibility Geno comes back to me. And if Geno doesn't come back to me, I know this is like scratching nails on a chalkboard, but I'll take Rodgers and live with it. If Rodgers is my quarterback too, because Jackson Dart can't play yet, Jackson Dart's going to be the starter in New York unless Dayball and that entire regime is fired, and they bring somebody in who just does not want to deal with Dart and does not want him. So I would be okay even with going with Rodgers as my quarterback 3 just to get an insurance guy for 1 year. Because I'm really just trying to get some of the best players that are available. Take a look at some of the chat here. Dynasty Jen said Jayden Higgins clears downs. I love Jayden Higgins, man. I really do. I'm a huge fan of Higgins. Cody said doubling down with Nico and Higgins. Yeah, there you go. Doubling up with Nico and Higgins. Sorry. Jacob said long-term agreed downs for this year and next year, though. Yeah, we'll see. Pittman with a healthy back and Warren, people are really high on Downs. I don't think Danny Dimes is producing 3 fantasy assets. It's interesting. I mean, this is the best offense slash situation maybe that Daniel Jones has been in. I don't think it's that crazy to say. A lot of weapons. You have Jonathan Taylor. Offensive line is pretty solid there too. So I'm interested to see how that turns out over there. Geno Smith does go. Hoff, thank you for doing that. Fucking asshole. And let's see what else we got here. Yes, FF Meteor said I also heard Ridley is a buy. Yeah, we've been talking about Ridley. I know that recent video just dropped. Matt just dropped his favorite Dynasty buys video. So if you guys haven't checked that out, check it out. It's in our archives. And I also just dropped the video with Coach, or have one dropping tomorrow. It's my favorite valued tight ends. Really, really good stuff there. Coach and me. Coach is doing a good job breaking some stuff down with me there. And then our wide receiver value, top 5, value / mid-round wide receivers dropped, me and Coach. That dropped. And then also our 5 must draft breakout wide receivers dropped as well. So a lot of content over here at First Read Fantasy. I know the guys are working hard to get more content going, and we're excited. So we appreciate everybody that's kind of stuck by us. A lot of people came over from Face Off. A lot of people came over just from Twitter, some new faces as well. So really, really appreciate the support that we've gotten so far. And yeah, I'm definitely going to do a recap of the board, of course, talk about some of my favorite plays, some of my favorite players. I will point out Mark Andrews. I was in a recent startup. Mark Andrews went in like the 11th round, and I think that's freaking nuts. I talk about Mark Andrews on the tight end video that's dropping tomorrow. I don't really understand I don't really understand the depression of Mark Andrews as an asset, and that's probably not even I'm not looking for depreciation, maybe suppression. I just don't really get it, right? Mark Andrews is 29 years old. He had a really good year last year. I know people are concerned about Isaiah Likely, but Mark Andrews from weeks, like I think it was 16 to 6 to 17 last year, was the tight end 5 in points. He also started the year coming off of a car accident. He also fractured his fibula the year before. So I mean, I think there's a world where Andrews could be even better this year. He's going to come down probably in those touchdowns. He had 11 last year. I don't expect that to continue. But overall, yards after catch, very, very real possibility he has more yards this year. I think Mark Andrews is a good value. I don't really know what other people are seeing. He's 29 years old. I mean, he's 29 years old. That's fine for a tight end. We've seen plenty of tight ends be very good in their mid 30s. And dare I say, Mark Andrews has been one of the best tight ends of this decade. So, I mean, there's a possibility, and maybe this is a hot take, and maybe it's just me not thinking it through enough while just being live here, but is Mark Andrews, is he going to have a case if he continues to play strong for another couple years? Is Hall of Fame possible? I don't know. I haven't looked at his numbers deep enough. And I hate throwing around Hall of Fame for players, but it is interesting. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. It's not something I've considered until now, but interesting. I'd be curious. Maybe I'm off there, but I'm wondering what his numbers add up to lifetime and how they look. Quarterback position wise here, Darnold's still available. I don't love Darnold, but I'll just take a chance on Darnold here. Instead of taking a chance on Rodgers, I get some more insulated value. Darnold's really on more of a 2-year deal, maybe even 1 if they want to eat some guaranteed money. But I'm fine with taking him there, right? I'd like Darnold, of course, over Rodgers. Still 28 years old, and if Darnold can play well, he could be a guy that's going to hold value for the next few years. Gets a new system, going over with Kubiak. So I'm interested to see what Seattle looks like. I'm a little nervous about Seattle in general, if that offensive line can hold up, but we'll see. We'll see. I see Easy B's question. I see Greg's. Greg said, who is going to start for the Browns this year? I think it's Flacco. I think there's gonna be multiple starters. It's gonna be Flacco though. If I was putting money down on it, I think it's Flacco. Jacob said Andrews is a top 10 tight end easily, only 29. Look at his contract, had a car accident too. Yeah, and I think it's worth noting. And he said Tony Gonzalez was a top 12 tight end at 36. Cody said Michael having a solid draft on the 101 and Bowers at the 110 tight end premium. Good value. Yeah, I agree. Bowers, you usually kind of see creep up to like that 107, 108, 109. It depends, though. I mean, how high people are. Jalen Milroe is an interesting little dart throw there. I like that, Jacob, a lot. Dynasty Gens, thanks for dropping in, brother. Appreciate you, man. Got to get on your show soon. So I'm back on the clock here. Ridley did go, and that was who I was going to take if I didn't take Darnold. So that's kind of a bummer. Shoot. Don't really love the players here that are available. I'll take Pittman. I'll take Pittman and just take a chance. Hopefully that back is healthy. He's 27 years old. This guy coming off a year where he was ranked 13th in 2023, then 20, then 17. He clearly was hurt last year, but look what he was able to do. I'm fine if I can get wide receiver 25 out of him in PPR, like for him to be my fourth receiver, maybe even my third, if I have to slide him in there for Higgins, if Higgins isn't ready to go. So Easy B said, would you take Marvin Harrison or Trey Harrison at 26 first? I'm taking Harrison. Unless that first is really high. If you know that first is going to be pretty high, I'd be maybe interested, but I don't really love the class. I know a lot of people keep saying this. I don't love the class next year. Wide receivers are putrid for next year's class. 2027, those receivers are pretty good. But this year, 2026 coming up, not a very good class. So I would take Marvin Harrison. I don't think Marvin Harrison had a bad year, guys. I think Kyler has a chance to be on the way out too. If you're looking at it from this lens, give me Marv over Trey Harris. You're looking at a 2026 first, depending on how high it is. I don't think it's a good class, but Marv didn't have a bad year last year. He had 885 yards, 8 total touchdowns on 62 receptions. It's pretty efficient. Now, he wasn't what we wanted him to be, especially in redraft. A lot of people draft him at the 1-2 turn. And in Dynasty, we hoped that he would be better. But I just think, and Hall said it right. I think his expectations were just a little too high. And that's going to happen. But overall, I would say I would go with Marv. I think this is the year for Kyler. If Kyler can't get it done this year, I think he's gone. I really do. It's a good quarterback class next year. Marv could very well have a new quarterback in 2026, and we'll see. But if Kyler Murray performs the way he performed last year, will not be in Arizona much longer. That is for sure. So, but yeah, so let me see what else here. Scott said Andrews has greedy hands, but Hall of Fame NFL probably not. Plunkett isn't. Yeah, I don't know I don't know if he's Hall of Fame. I mean, like I said, that was just more one of those things kind of off the top of the head, like just kind of thinking. Probably Hall of very good. I think that's fair. I'd love to see where Andrews' all-time numbers are. Let's see. So Mark Andrews' career stats: 51 touchdowns, 5,530 yards, 436 touchdowns. So let me see. Let's see what the historical tight end leaders are. I mean, yards wise, I don't think he's not really very close. I mean, Tony Gonzalez 15,000, Jason Witten at 13,000. Yeah, probably Hall very good. But there's also a world. I mean, he goes to a really good team next year as a free agent. Maybe he goes to a contender. Maybe he goes to the Kansas City. If Kelsey retires, that would be pretty interesting. That would be very, very interesting. Yeah, Jacob said thoughts on Milrow. I thought it was good. I think Milrow's a fine grab there, especially based on your team. I think I'd probably try to maybe grab Rodgers on the way back, but you don't really have to burn a pick there. I mean, you have Knicks, you have Goff. It's risky with Milrow, but high risk, high reward. I'm fine with that pick there. I'm gonna move myself over so that you can see the board because I'm kind of on top of the board now. Yeah, we had some auto picks here at the end. The good news is it was pretty much all real picks up until this point, which is a really, really good draft. So we'll take it. Um, Let me see. What did Greg say here? Robinson, a boring pick, but I think he might be underrated this year. With the only competition being an aging Eckler, I think he gets even more touches this year. Yeah, don't sleep on Ja'Cory Misker. I don't even know how do you even say the guy's name, but they drafted the kid. They drafted the one kid. What's his name, man? I can't even. It's like Ja'Cory something. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. There you go. I said Misker. It's Merritt. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. I think he's going to be interesting. I think Eckler is still going to be Eckler. He's gonna catch passes. I think Brian Robinson's a good value, though. I mean, especially getting him where you did. That's fine. I mean, let me see. The hell? You guys hear me? I do not know what just happened. I gotta pull up the board again because everything just crashed on me. So I don't know if I was frozen. The face that I was making when it was frozen on my screen was not good. That is for sure. All right, well, I'm back on the board. Sorry about that. Let's take a look here. Pull back the board. Get this up for you guys. Okay. All right, so we got the board here. Jeez. All right. Pick 42 or 42 seconds. Take a look at my roster here. You can always trade for veteran running backs, guys. That's man, you guys are gonna hate me if I do this. I like Jalen Noel. I have him ranked over Cooper Kupp, but again, this is one of those things where veterans, depending on the team, sometimes you take a chance. I already have Jayden Higgins. I'm gonna do it, man. I'm gonna take Cooper Kupp. Am I in love with it? Not necessarily. Uh, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not expecting Cooper Kupp to turn back to form. He's 32 years old. But I mean, it looks like he looks solid out there from what the reports are. Last year, let me take the volume off here. Sorry, guys. Turn that off. Look, last year was a bad year for him. Totally get that. And I'm not sitting here telling you that he's going to be great, but started the year off strong. 14.9 points, 20.13 points in the first 2 weeks before getting hurt and leaving. I mean, and then in PPR, he had 14.9, 14.8, 15.45, 14.74, 15.16, 15.81, 14.11. I mean, am I reading this wrong? I don't remember him actually doing that well. I don't remember him. Did Cooper Kupp actually have that decent of games stretches there? I'll get back to that in a second. That doesn't sound right. I got to look at that. So we got Tim Bigsby, Jayden Blue here. I could take another. Yeah, I could take Ferguson, but I'm not going to do that yet. I'll hope that he comes back, and if he doesn't, whatever. People are not going to like this, but I'm going to take Rachaad White. I get it. He's not sexy. He's not fun. But Rachaad White, He's going to be there on third downs. He's going to be involved in the offense. They're going to continue to use two backs. I don't mind Rachaad White being my RB4. It's fine. He adds receiving upside, receiving value. I mean, there's some other players here, but I'm not in love with any of these guys here. Maybe take a chance on Braylon Allen or Garendo. But I'm okay. I mean, Rachaad White seems like an easy pick for me there. I got to go back to that Cooper Kupp thing because that doesn't sound right. I feel like that's not right. I gotta look at his game log. He averaged 14.6 points per game last year, Cooper Kupp. Why? It's kind of nuts. Everyone's super off him. Okay, yeah, those points per game were not right. I don't think when I was reading off. Now on a points per game basis, they were right, but the points that he had, not correct. I don't know what the hell Sleeper had on those, but that was not right, unless I was reading something wrong. But 32 points in week 1 for Cooper Kupp, 16 points in week 8. He obviously missed a stretch after week 2. Week 2, he had 7.7 points, and then he missed from week 3 to week 3 to week 8. But yeah, 16 points in week 8, 21 points in week 9, 15 points in week 10. 28 points in week 11, 20 points in week 12. Then he had 4 points against New Orleans, 20 points against Buffalo. And then he really kind of just burned out the rest of the year. 0, 5.4, 3.9, 3.9, 11.1. Some of those are in the actual playoffs. That was the last 2 numbers there. So, I mean, yeah, Cooper Kupp is fine. At this point in the draft, if I'm going to win now, I don't mind taking a chance on Kupp. I know he's 32. All these veterans can't be good forever, but I'm okay with taking a chance on him based on what was on the board. If Mooney was there, I probably would have taken a chance there. But, I mean, who am I missing out on for Cooper Kupp? Marvin Mims, love him, Broncos fan, but I'm not there yet on him. Not a bad pick. Underlying metrics look really good for Marvin Mims, but I still a question mark, right? They just drafted Pat Bryant. They brought in Evan Ingram, RJ Harvey. I like Jalen Noel. I did take Jayden Higgins. So, it is what it is. I'd rather Cooper Kupp over Debo. Debo's looking fat and slow, man. He's getting ragged on by everybody. Raheem Shaheed's interesting. Maybe I would have taken Kupp over him. Do not give a rat's ass about Xavier Legette. I'm just not a fan of Xavier Legette, guys. I don't know what people see in him. Funny, seems like a good dude. Love the videos that come out of him. He seems like a genuine funny guy. Salt of the earth, but I'm not a big believer in his talent. And then you have Stephon Diggs, another interesting shot there. So one of those guys, Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs, one of these guys is going to be relevant this year, possibly even 2. Maybe all 3 of them, right? So I think we're getting solid value there. Let me take a look here. Yeah. Mason was an interesting pick. Mason was a good pick by Roman. I would have taken him over Rachaad White. Najee Harris is interesting. I did consider taking Najee if he was going to be there as well. I think Najee will be involved. So I think that's fine. Roman said, love Mooney, Shaheed late there. Yeah, I think so as well. Mooney, Shaheed is a good 2-2 pick there. And then Braylon Allen. It's a good stretch here. I don't know about Keon Coleman, man. I drafted him in a startup this year, but I just don't really know what to make of him, to be completely honest with you. Greg said, put it back on the auto draft. ATL is doing a better job. Ouch. I should just traded Kate Otten today. I traded Kate Otten, Jack Besh, and Kate Otten, Jack Besh, and Arroyo for Cedric Tillman and Mason Taylor. I know it sounds crazy. I love Cedric Tillman. I think he's the best player in that deal. I think he's going to be good this year. Really, really do. Speaking of Cedric Tillman, I know my Dynasty rankings in front of me, but because my computer crashed out there for a second. But I'm going to go over some of my favorite picks, guys. I'm going to go over the teams who I think won the draft, who I think maybe lost the draft. Maybe somebody got greedy a little bit. Maybe I lost the draft. I don't know. We'll see. But Cedric Tillman is a very, very interesting player. I'm not going to do a deep dive on him, but I've talked about it ad nauseum in a lot of segments in a lot of my videos. And I have Cedric Tillman right now with what's left on the board. He's my number one wide receiver that's left right now. I think Cedric Tillman could be really, really good going into year 3. Archetype wise, he's very similar to Nico Collins in terms of how their physicals, their play style, very, very similar people. Very similar players. And Cedric Tillman's gone. Thank you, Scott. You fucking asshole. But pretty interesting. I really like Cedric Tillman. Scott takes him from me. I'm sure Scott did that on purpose. So that's good. Let me see what else we got here. Pat Bryant's interesting. Rashad Bateman, I don't have him super high in my dynasty rankings. Aiyuk is interesting. I mean, there's no like must-have players here. Cedric Tillman was really my biggest must-have player left on the board. At running back, things get a little interesting here. I don't know why Algier starred for me. Here we go. Terrence Ferguson is still available. So Terrence Ferguson, probably one of my favorite landing spots of this entire draft. Terrence Ferguson lands in Los Angeles with the Rams, and I absolutely love the pick. They've been trying super hard to draft a tight end, and I'm super bullish on Terrence Ferguson. I think just an absolute awesome landing spot for him. I'm really, really excited because I really do think that this offense is in need of a tight end. They haven't really had one. Higbee's got injured, came back. He was injured, didn't start the year. It's just, I don't know. What's up, buddy? He said, how does this crown thing work? I don't even know what crown thing you're talking about. So I don't know. I mean, if anybody else sees some sort of crown thing in the chat, let me know. Scott said teabag. Yes. Thank you, Scott. You fucking jackass. Took my pick. Jacob said, speaking of Tillman, I was trying to get Jordan Mason and Palmer. Owner countered Tillman, Benson, and a mid-third. And I was like, I am not giving Tillman up for that. No, that's too much. That's too much. You should be able to get Benson for Mason straight. I mean, I'm not necessarily a huge believer in Benson, but I think a lot of people have him valued higher than Mason. You should be able to get Mason for Benson straight. I would not do this deal at all. Not at all. You're smart enough that you didn't take it as well. All right, so let's close this thing out here. Love my guy DJ Giddens. Love Jarquez Hunter. Again, this is the last pick, so I can't necessarily bank on getting some players later. Do love Pat Bryant. Who do I have? Do I have Giddens or Hunter higher in my rankings? I actually have Taj Brooks higher than them. Interesting. Okay. Well, there you go. I will yield to my rankings. I will pick Taj Brooks. It's probably a reach because he's much farther down the board, but I'm going to take him because that's who I have in my rankings ahead of all those rookies. I have him ahead of Blake Corum. I have him ahead of Dobbins. Algier's in my top 60. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Yeah, I did go over the Jonnu trade disco. I don't know. What do you think about it? I'm not. I don't really. I think it's good for the Dolphins players. I don't think maybe it's a stock up for Rodgers. He gets another weapon. I don't think it really affects DK. It hurts Freiermuth. It hurts Jonnu, who I wasn't really in on anyway. And ironically enough, I'm not hating on Jonnu. I mean, if you watched us when we were at Face Off, I actually made a pizza bet with Steve that Jonnu would have. I think it was over 5.5 touchdowns last year in Miami, and he did. So I'm a believer in Jonnu, but I'm not necessarily super excited about that landing spot. Okay. What do we got here? Okay. My wife wants to get ice cream, so I'm gonna go over these teams and yeah, I mean, interesting 35 spots. Disco, Johnny was going uh like in the 60s like 2 months ago on Underdog. I thought that was absolutely disgusting. Greg said this one's for you. He took Ryan Tannehill. Respect. Anthony loved Ryan Tannehill. Loves Ryan Tannehill. Let me take a look at some of these teams and then I'll get out of here, guys. Just want to see if there's anything that sticks out to me. McCaffrey goes behind me. When I took Jacobs there, it was interesting pick. I want to talk about the tight ends. I mean, Hawkinson, Loveland, and Tyler Warren, getting these guys where you get them here, 6th round, and then Warren and Hawkinson 7th. In a normal regular startup, I don't know that that's going to happen, guys. If you just be fully transparent, I think those guys go earlier. They're probably more like 5th round. Like at least Tyler Warren, Loveland, I've seen those guys go 4th, 5th round. So I think that's really good value that you got them there. I think Brian Robinson's an interesting pick here for Greg. You get him here at 11.6. Not in love with Robinson, but he's going to be the starter unless Jaworski Merritt or whatever the heck his name is ends up taking some time, but I don't think he's going to lose the full-time role. Hoff, Taylor Henry, Travis Etienne, Devin Neal, some risk there with some injuries. You have 3 running backs that are injury not prone, but tend to get injured. But it's a good team. Hoff ends up taking Geno Smith from me, which I did not love. I will say it's Brandon Aiyuk goes here to Dynasty DGens at 9-10. I took Higgins over Aiyuk, even though I have Aiyuk ahead of Higgins in my rankings. But just based on roster construction, I went that way. I want to take a look at Roman's team, man. Roman's team, interesting here. He starts off Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr. Oh, you know what? I'm on the wrong board. Roman's team goes Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Lad McConkey. Then he ends up getting lucky. That's what happened. Got lucky. Purdy fell to him. He gets Judkins and gets Bryce Young. So he secures the 2 quarterbacks. He's good there. He gets a really good tight end too in Hawkinson. I got to say, I think Roman might have won this draft for sure. He gets Mason to back up Aaron Jones. He gets Monty. I'm a huge Monty fan. I'm not high on him this year. I'm a little concerned about the age cliff for him and just his skill set. But I mean, I think Roman's probably my favorite team. Let's take a look at Jake because he's here in the chat. He's got Gibbs, Nakua. So he gets Goff, Milrow, and Nix. Running back room, I mean, Gibbs and Chase Brown. I'm not the highest on Chase Brown, but I also am fine with him if he's your RB2. And then you played it smart here, right? I mean, you didn't really draft any running backs. You just kind of hit the wide receiver position. I'm fine with that. You get Puka, you have Rome, you get Olave. Chris Olave, guys, I guess I just don't really understand. I get the concussion things and people are upset, but like a lot of players are one quote unquote hit away. And I think Chris Olave, if he's healthy, he's one of the better receivers in the NFL. So I like Chris Olave. I'm taking the risk on him in drafts this year. I'll say it. I mean, startup. I know this is startup, but even in redraft best ball, I think he's way too cheap right now, guys. So I think it's a good draft. Let me take a look at team 5 here. Because I know Sebastian said thinks he fumbled. He's here in the chat. So we double tap the quarterback position. We get Bucky Irving. Now Bucky is my RB8 in my rankings. Sam Laporta is fine. I think Laporta is a reach-ish for me. I mean, it depends. I'm not as high on Laporta as other people are. From a tier standpoint, I don't. So let me rephrase it. I have Sam Laporta as my tight end 3, but I don't have him like a tier above Warren, Hawkinson, or Colson Loveland for me. So I think you could have waited because some guys go a little farther, but that's also a preference thing, man. I mean, like I mean, people are much higher on Laporta than probably I am, and I have him as my tight end 3, so it's not that I'm low on him. I think wide receiver, you fumbled a little bit here. you really don't have a top 12 guy. That's tough. It's tough to dig out of that hole in Dynasty. I think you double tap in quarterback here. This is the risk that you run where if you take you, this is pretty much what happened. You double tapped quarterback and you took a tight end. You took a two tight end, one tight end, two quarterbacks in the first 4 rounds. So you're going to usually be light elsewhere. You end up being kind of light at wide receiver and running back because you get Bucky, Pacheco, Charbonnet. I mean, they could be your RB2, but they're risky. And then, I mean, if you're high on Worthy, maybe maybe some people do think that Worthy could be the number one on the Chiefs and maybe a top 15 guy. Devonta Smith is a top 20 guy. I mean, so you're fine there. You're safe with Smith, but you do lack a little bit of upside there. I mean, not a great draft, but this is why we do them. And so I think I think think the good news is I think you feel like you fumbled and that's good. It's good to kind of acknowledge that. Now, let me take a look at Scott because Scott wants to know. He said, first Dynasty Superflex tight ends, so be harsh. I'm here to learn. Yeah, Scott, appreciate you jumping in. So I told you initially, Scott, I think you have three players that are in my top 12 in their positional rankings. So you get Bijan, you get McBride, you get JSN. I think JSN is like he might be like wide receiver 13 for me, wide receiver 12. I have him at wide receiver 12. So you have a fringe wide receiver 1. You have one of the best tight ends in the game in Trey McBride. You have Bijan Robinson, who is my RB1 this year. So you're really good there. You get a cornerstone piece in all three of those positions. Then you get Stroud and Mayfield. Look, Stroud had a down year last year, but he still took his team to the playoffs. That offensive line stunk. I'm not the biggest fan of Stroud from a fantasy standpoint, but cornerstone piece. I think that's good. I love Baker Mayfield's value. I think that's a fine pick there. I traded Baker Mayfield. I traded Mahomes for Mayfield in a first, I think, or something like that. Don't crucify me. It was a 1 quarterback. It was a 10-team league. So there's quarterbacks on waivers in that dynasty league. So I didn't mind, and I have a good quarterback outside of Mahomes, so I didn't need him. But you're good there. Then you get Caleb Johnson, so you get some youth. Jameson Williams, Ricky Pearsall. These are top 30 players for me. So you have 3 wide receivers in my top 30. You have two running backs in my top 15. I believe Johnson might not be in my top 15. He might be like 17, but I mean, he's 16. So that's a good pick. You get Tony Pollard, a good veteran there as well. Ferguson, you're not even light on. I mean, Ferguson is your tight end too. You steal Tillman here for me. You talked about it. You teabagged me. You get Christian Kirk. It's a good team. It's a good team. This is why I don't mind punting quarterback to start these drafts sometimes, man. So I think it's a really, really good team. But thank you so much, guys, for watching. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you guys. We're going to continue to crank out content. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe. And do me a favor, if you are still here and when this video does close out, if you guys don't mind going to the channel and just sending a comment underneath the video, it just helps the algorithm. It helps us push it out to more people. The more traction we get, be much appreciated. We'll keep you guys updated on that Discord as we kind of get things rolling with that. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good holiday weekend. God bless America, and I'll see you guys next time.
To me, it's looking counterfeit. I get done with one and move right on to another bit. Yeah.